There are many complaints about the quality of the paintwork, the joining of body elements, as well as the quality of chrome. If the front bumper does not fit snugly against the fender, this does not mean that the car was involved in an accident. The fact is that for the exterior of the car, the manufacturer used weak clips and harsh plastic, which are subject to deformation during temperature changes. Sometimes there is a violation of the integrity of the paintwork at the joints of body parts, but even in places where the paint is chipped, the body resists the onslaught of the red disease quite well. The Chevrolet Cruze powertrain line includes two atmospheric gasoline engines, 1.6, 109 and 124 horsepower, and 1.8, 141 horsepower, 1.4 turbo engine, 138 horsepower, as well as one 2.0 diesel engine, 150 horsepower. The 1.6 engine is well known to many Chevrolet Lachetti motorists. It is considered the most reliable and problem-free. Of the unpleasant little things that owners encounter, one can know the appearance of soot on the valves, as a result of which the valves can hang. Over time, oil starts to flow from under the valve cover on all engines. The problem is solved by replacing the gasket, but due to the fact that the material from which the gasket is made quickly loses its elasticity, that produced will have to be carried out every 50–60,000 kilometers. Also, over time, the valve cover can leak. Checking this is quite simple. You need to unscrew the candles and check for oil in the candle wells. Another trouble that owners of cars with a 1.6 engine very often encounter is an engine stalling at idle. The reason for this feature has not been identified. On some machines, flashing and cleaning the throttle helps to solve the problem. The 1.8 engine was borrowed from the Opel Astra. Its chronic sore also passed in the place with the engine. The engine has a weak known drawback: the gear of the intake and the exhaust camshaft fail. More than 30% of the Chevrolet Cruze owners with a 1.8 ECODEC engine face the problem. The main cause of gear failure is considered to be oil starvation. Therefore, in order to avoid costly repairs, you need to carefully monitor the oil level. Another reason may be the failure of the solenoid valve, which fails due to clogging of the solenoid mesh. Signs of this problem are a strong rumble immediately after starting a cold engine, as well as poor direction. Engines 1.4 and 2.0 are very rare in the secondary market, and there are not a lot of reviews about them in the forums, so there is simply nowhere to take statistics from. The only thing that can be said about the diesel engine is that it is the most dynamic in the line, acceleration from 0 to 100 in 9.4 seconds, and the most economical, average consumption of 5.5–6.5 liters per 100. The fuel consumption of gasoline engines in the urban cycle is 10–14 liters per 100, on the highway about 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers. The following types of gearboxes were available for the Chevrolet Cruze: 5- and 6-speed mechanics, as well as a 6-speed automatic with manual shifting. Both transmissions can hardly be called problematic, but minor troubles still happen. The mechanical transmission sometimes manifests itself as an unpleasant hum, and problems with the release bearings are also possible. Many owners have already experienced a shock when the mechanical box was wedged at speed. The reason for this is the collapsed plastic sleeve in the switching mechanism. The problem is fixed inexpensively and for a long time. There are a little more problems with the automatic transmission. Often the owners complain about its not quite adequate behavior. The box periodically slows down at a time when you don't expect it at all. This drawback is eliminated by flashing the electronic control unit. It is not recommended to take a car with a 1.6 engine paired with an automatic transmission. In this combination, the transmission causes the most problems, but they also appear after a 100,000 km of run. The suspension of this car can hardly be called unreliable, but as is often the case with used cars, the movement comes when there are a number of annoying little things owners. The most common of them is the rattling of the suspension in the pits. The shock absorber struts serve as a resource of unpleasant sounds. This problem is present not only on this model, but also on other models of the Chevrolet and Opel concern. A knock appears at 15–20,000 kilometers, and the bypass valve serves at the cause of this knocking. The running resource is not much different from other cars in this segment, and you will have to make capital investments in this unit every 60–80,000 kilometers, depending on operating conditions and driving style. The first thing you will have to face when choosing a used Chevrolet Cruze is that many of these cars served in taxi companies, especially cars with a 1.6 engine. In such cars, the steering wheel, seats, pedals, and gear knob are usually replaced with new ones, and if you find a car with a mileage of 60,000 kilometers or more with an ideal interior condition, the likelihood that the mileage is twice and interior parts were changed in 99%. And no matter how they prove to you that they used the car carefully, drove it only to the country, you should know that these are all tricks and resellers. Interior trim materials of average quality and traces of use, such as small abrasions, appear on them after 40–50,000 kilometers, even with very careful operation. They will look new only if you do not remove the factory film until the time of sale. Some owners find moisture under the front passenger rug. The drain hose that has come off is to blame. Most often, this problem occurs on cars on which an alarm was installed. Not infrequently, the cause of moisture in the cabin is poor quality sizing of the windshield and rear window seals, and if you find moisture in the trunk, you will need to replace the rear light seals. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.